I think this is the first time I've even used the front-facing camera on my phone. I guess it's the first time for everything. Hello again, guys, and welcome back to Servisola on the Gregola Records Club channel. This is the beginning of a new... it's not the beginning of a new series necessarily. I guess it's the beginning of a new era within Servisola. Why is it the beginning of a new era? Well, first of all, I'd like to do more consistent uploads, not only on what we're going to talk about today, but just in general. And what we're going to be doing here today is, and I've been doing this kind of on my own for a while now, but I figured it'd be a lot more fun to do it if I took you all with me and we all did this together. And you can see the top of, oh boy, you can see a bit of something in the corner there. I'm not going to get into that right now. But anyway, what I'd like to do on Servisola and just in general is learn how to rebuild old vintage, that word. Ugh. Get that word off my tongue. Antique amplifiers and radios and record players, electric stuff. So in other words, learning how to work on old electronics. Not everything. I don't think I'm going to do TVs, at least not yet. I don't know, TVs or... again, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, how much stuff do you seriously have room for? How much do you want to collect? All that's fun jazz. But anyway, radios and record players, I'd love to kind of delve into that. Learning how to rebuild amplifiers and, replace components and fix this stuff up and make sure it's not just kind of sitting on a shelf or sitting in a corner like that Westinghouse back there is. Oh yes, this is interesting. We're not going to be starting with this because that is way too complex for me at this current time. We're going to be starting with our beloved Electrohome portable, which needs its capacitors replaced. So, bada bing, bada boom, it needs, the amplifier, and, you got to get in there and do what you need to do with the amplifier. The motor is fine. We've already been screwing around with that. If you remember a few years ago, we've been playing around with that motor. And I think the cartridge is having a problem now too, so we got to go deal with that. So this is where we're at with Servisola now. We're going to be not only working, if I ever get another phonograph or whatever, if I, however that goes, we're going to be playing around with that stuff, too. But I seem to find radios and whatnot a lot more common than I do with phonographs and all that. So yeah, no, this is a new era in Servisola, and it's been a couple of years since I've even made a new episode of this, and it's a shame because that was really not meant to happen. So anyway, enough talk. Let's dive straight into this. Let's do this. Let's work on that little portable record player, and if you haven't seen it already, don't worry about it. It's a one-tube amplifier. Oh, wait. I need to show you guys something. Yeah, one-tube amplifier. So far, it's not that complicated. We bought this book because I figured I have no idea what I'm doing, and I keep seeing this book all over the place. I'm hiding behind it. Yeah, no, this is... I'm starting at the very beginning here, guys. I know nothing about working on this stuff. This book seems to know what it's talking about. Joseph J. Carr, I don't know if he's still alive or not, because I think this is printed or written in the 90s from the impression that I get off of this. But in any case, he seems to know what's going on, so I'm taking his advice. And of course, there's things in here I don't understand because I've just started this whole fiasco, so I have no clue what some of this even means here. Some of the things in here are too complicated for me right now. I don't even know what they even mean. I just know that replace capacitors and resistors good, and that's it. That's all I understand. That's all I kind of understand right now. So we're going to be going all over the map. We're going to be going on the internet. We're going to be going. I know this is mainly using the internet and kind of hanging out on radio repair forums and all that. And I'm recording the whole journey pretty much. That's what we're going to do. And there's going to be specific series plural, on different radios and stuff that I've got here that I want to get up and running. There's also one more thing I should probably say before I get into this, and some people may hate me for even thinking about this, but I would like to have the option to either broadcast to these little radios so I can play period music on them, or install, and not gut the whole thing, but install Bluetooth into the pre-existing hardware. I know that's possible with old radios. I know you can do that with at least some of them. And I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But getting that Bluetooth function in there means you can play whatever you want through that speaker. And no, it'd be great to have the ability to do that. You know, pair your phone with it and play, you know, if the radio's from the 30s, play 30s music or whatever, or you play whatever you want through it. So that's something I'd like to experiment with, but I don't know. I'm still understanding how basic circuitry works. Trying to even figure that out. So let's start at the very beginning here before we decide to go modifying things. And I know that can be very dangerous if you have no clue what you're doing. So like me here. So yeah, no, we're not going to be doing that right now. Let's go get ourselves educated before we start screwing around with all this other stuff. Okay, so to start with, I've got this book, and that is basically it. Oh, and we've also, this was a freebie from an antique store. This has nothing to do with radios as far as I know, even though, you know, it says that. I'm thinking this applies more to TVs, doesn't it? Someone told me it does, but I could be wrong. I have absolutely no idea. I haven't even read this yet, so this was free from an antique store, so I know stuff like this you never turn down, especially, you know, given the contents of this. So it might not be for TVs. I really don't know. So we're starting with those two books there, and yeah, let's go upstairs. Okay, so here's the player we're gonna start off with. So this is a approximately 1958. I could be wrong. It's an Electrohome, made in Canada, portable record player. There's the cabinet. And here is the chassis. So we've got our motor over here. It's a General Industries. There's our power cord going out over there someplace. Oh, here's the one vacuum tube. It's an Admiral. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that starting to go bad? If it's got that silver top? I don't know. Vacuum tubes, from what I understand, are probably the hardest part about this whole thing, is just getting a hold of these things to replace. You know, if a tube ends up dying on your machine, they don't, you know, it takes forever for them to actually get gassy, as they say, because, you know, the glass starts to, or somehow air is getting in. That's how they perish on you. But anyway, they're the hardest things to find, but they last forever once you replace them, so I heard. Although, if you go in popular culture, you know, radio repair, old radio repair, what does it consist of? This goes for TVs as well. Changing out vacuum tubes all the time. So who the heck knows? Maybe they last longer than everyone thinks they do. We've got I'm completely forgetting the name of this right now. It's a capacitor, well, it's got a whole bunch of capacitors in it, this one guy. So we've got our microfarads, we've got our volts DC, so we got our list of values. So this needs to be replaced because this record player, you know, it powered on and everything, but it was making capacitor hum. It was buzzing, so that needs to go. These 3 wax capacitors need to go as well. Oh, and by the way, this thing has been unplugged for months, so I'm not too worried about, you know, any electricity being stored in this amplifier anywhere. This thing has been, you know, off forever, so I'm not too worried about that. Also got some resistors. I don't know, yeah, I don't know what the values of those are right now. They're the tiny little guys. Maybe they're 1.5 watts or something like that. Might have to go on Mauser Electronics, go on that website and just see what I can come up with on there in terms of resistors. Let's see, let's just get in closer here. We've got that guy, we've got a red one. Oh, and we also have this big guy here. And we've got that one there, which looks like, I'll have to turn my phone light on for that one. I'm still learning how to use this this camera here as well. As you can see, everything looks a lot nicer now. I can't tell if that's a color on, if that's a light brown on top. It sure looks like it is. You've got a green in the middle, then that same light brown again, and then you got dark brown there. And where exactly is everything soldered to here? This is soldered across these two prongs here. That one is soldered to that yellow wire. Let's get all this other junk out of the way. I'm trying to actually film this. Yeah, it's a bit of a nest. Not too bad though. Bit of a rat's nest in terms of wires. I don't know. It seems like most of these are just like soldered across the tube terminals there. Looks like. And other than that, I mean, of course, there's that resistor there and 3 wax capacitors. That is it. There is no other. There's nothing else going on in here. So this is again, I know this isn't even a radio, but it's the same idea. So at this stage of the game, you're probably wondering, well, unless you of course repair these, Greg, what the heck are you supposed to do now? Well, we could go to our local electronics store and try and get some replacement capacitors, although I highly doubt, just from looking at their website, I'll keep them in mind, but I very highly doubt they'll even have these capacitors because newer caps have larger values, I believe. Not tiny little values like these guys have, but sometimes, you see their numbers going into the, in the old capacitors. You see the numbers in the triple digits. Well, these can be in the quadruple. So that may be wrong, but from what I've seen, newer caps are different than older ones. So, oh, and that's just electrolytic capacitors too. So there's plenty of different types of capacitors out there, and I don't know if there's different types of resistors, but anyway, I don't think our local store is going to be able to help us here. Radio Shack probably actually would have been able to help us here, or it may just be completely useless. But I think they would have had, maybe Radio Shack would have had a, I don't know, some sort of introductory into vintage electronics book or something like that. You know what I mean? Like there could have been some sort of resource there that, whether it be the old guy in the back who's been doing this for the past 60 years, or it's, something to give me a hand here. But I don't know, maybe I'm just glorifying Radio Shack. I've never actually been there because I'm not old enough for that. So anyway, Radio Shack's gone, but that would have probably come in handy. But oh well, at least there is a store in my city at all that has any electronic components like this. So probably what I'm going to end up doing is ordering everything online off of Mauser Electronics and DigiKey Canada. And I believe, yeah, it's Mauser Canada and I'm having a stroke here. DigiKey Canada, there we go. So, yeah, something like that. And maybe there'll be like the other one-off websites where those two websites don't have what I'm looking for, so I have to, order off of there or whatever. So, fun and games, have to order off different places and hope, just basically scouring the internet for any of this stuff. Again, it's a shame that no one buys any of this stuff in person anymore. Oh, and probably the most handy tool of them all is knowing actual people who do work on this stuff, whether they be local to me or not. One of them is sort of local and the other is definitely not local at all, but both of which have experience. So, along with their help and the help of any old radio repair forum I can find or YouTube comments section or whatever, we can kind of piece this all together and learn something. And of course, with the help of the book that I have, the Joseph J. Carr book. So, that is where we're starting. And it is kind of a zero knowledge situation. I don't come from a background of anything like this, and yeah. So, I don't have any sort of real experience. In fact, I'm still learning how to use my soldering iron, believe it or not. Yep. So, I really am a Radio Zero in that case. And the big zero stands for zero knowledge, offhand anyway. So I've already kind of looked around online and I think I've got my 3 capacitors more or less figured out by this point. So the resistors I really haven't paid any attention to up until now. So I'm gonna go on Mauser and see, I don't know, I'll try all the websites, but I'll see if I can find those specific resistors.
Also, someone told me that I should try and find the actual schematic for this turntable. Well, I have no idea where I'd even begin to look for that. Especially since this is Canadian. This isn't even like RCA or something like that. This was a local brand or local-ish brand. I think it was on Toronto or something like that. I think that's where these guys were. I mean, good luck trying to find the schematics for this. Yeah, not sure I'm going to be able to get those resistors to be the exact values here. Not completely sure what I'm going to do there. I guess I'll go online and spend 20 minutes looking, and then I'll get back to you.
But we can't have all the fun at once now, can we? To be continued.